It was a Wednesday night in Washington, D.C. The sky was dark. An American Eagle jet, a Bombardier CRJ-700, was preparing to land. It was carrying 64 people. Suddenly, a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter appeared. It had 3 soldiers on board. The 2 aircraft collided over the Potomac River. The impact was catastrophic. There were no survivors. The crash sent shockwaves through the nation's capital. The Potomac River, normally a serene backdrop to the city, became a scene of tragedy. Rescue crews rushed to the site. They faced a daunting task. The wreckage was scattered over a wide area. The helicopters had sunk to the bottom of the river. The crash raised immediate questions about aviation safety. How could 2 aircraft collide in one of the most heavily regulated airspaces in the world? The National Transportation Safety Board, or NTSB, launched an investigation. They knew that understanding what happened was crucial. The goal was to prevent such a tragedy from ever happening again. The recovery of the black boxes was a critical step. These devices record flight data and cockpit audio. They held vital clues to the moments leading up to the crash. Divers worked tirelessly to locate the black boxes in the murky river. Time was of the essence. The longer the boxes remained submerged, the greater the risk of data loss. The black boxes were found. They were damaged but intact. Investigators transported them to a lab for analysis. The data retrieval process was complex and delicate. Every effort was made to preserve the integrity of the recordings. The black boxes held the key to understanding the chain of events that led to the tragedy. Meanwhile, the search for victims continued. The crash had claimed the lives of 67 people. Among them were families traveling home, soldiers on a training mission, and a group of young athletes. The recovery effort was painstaking. Crews worked day and night to recover the remains of those lost. The crash had a profound impact on the families of the victims. They were left to grapple with the sudden and unimaginable loss of their loved ones. The nation mourned with them. The crash served as a stark reminder of the fragility of life. The NTSB investigation focused on several key areas. One was the actions of the military pilot. The helicopter was operating under visual flight rules. This meant that the pilot was responsible for seeing and avoiding other aircraft. Investigators wanted to know if the pilot had followed proper procedures. Another area of focus was air traffic control. Controllers at Reagan National Airport were responsible for monitoring the airspace. Investigators wanted to know if they had issued any warnings or instructions to either aircraft. They also wanted to know if there were any communication issues between the aircraft and the control tower. Communication was a critical factor in the investigation. The jet was using VHF radio frequency. The helicopter was using UHF. These 2 frequencies are not directly compatible. This meant that the pilots could not hear each other's transmissions. Investigators wanted to know if this communication gap contributed to the crash. The investigation also examined the issue of altitude discrepancy. Preliminary data showed the jet at 325 feet and the helicopter at 200 feet at impact. This discrepancy was puzzling. Investigators wanted to know why the helicopter was flying at a lower altitude than it should have been. They also wanted to know if the jet was at its assigned altitude. The crash had immediate consequences for aviation safety. The Federal Aviation Administration, or FAA, restricted helicopter traffic around Reagan National Airport. This was a precautionary measure to prevent another collision. The FAA also launched a review of its air traffic control procedures. The Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, banned identity-based celebrations among FAA personnel. He argued that safety should be the top priority. Duffy's directive was met with mixed reactions. Some praised his focus on safety, others criticized it as unnecessary and divisive. The crash also sparked a debate about the role of technology in aviation safety. Some experts argued that the crash highlighted the need for better collision avoidance systems. Others argued that the focus should be on improving pilot training and air traffic control procedures. The NTSB investigation is ongoing. It is a complex and challenging task. The investigators are determined to find answers. They want to prevent such a tragedy from ever happening again. The crash over the Potomac is a reminder of the importance of aviation safety. It is a lesson that we must never forget. Please subscribe so you won't miss new updates.